Hello guys, Kat here, and I'm back with yet another video. I have a lot to talk about today, so I better hurry up. First of all, I just want to thank everyone so much because I finally crossed the 700 subscriber mark. I think it was around last week when I noticed, oh hey, I'm above 700, so I was like, oh, that is awesome. I know I haven't been the most regular and most stable of content creators. I don't always manage to upload regularly. I'm sorry about that. I've had some real life drama recently, and I honestly haven't been up to doing anything on YouTube. I hope you can understand that. But anyway, I just want to thank everyone so much, and for putting up with me and being there regardless, and hopefully still watching my stuff. So yeah, thank you so much for putting up with me, and hopefully it'll get better at some point. But yeah. As for the gameplay, not much to say. It's a little bit of an older sniping gameplay, but I haven't been able to get any gameplays recently because Black Ops 2 has just been strange and laggy, honestly. So yeah. I also think somewhere towards the end, the screen gets a little darker. I'm sorry, I can't do anything about that, but I think it was the file that got corrupted, so you're gonna have to put up with that. But anyway, what did I want to talk to you guys about today? I have something interesting in stock, that's for sure. Violence and video games. Are the two related? And can video games actually inspire someone to violence? By the way, this is another one of those subjects that people have been asking for my opinion on for quite a while now, just because of my psychologist or social work background. And so that's what I'm going to go ahead and say right before the video starts. These are just my opinions and my experiences from having worked within the field, and nothing else. I'm not trying to act like a know-it-all, I'm not trying to preach or anything like that. This is just my opinions, so sit back and enjoy. Alright, so ever since gaming became a somewhat acceptable entertainment medium, we've all seen this type of stuff on the news, be it on the TV or on the internet. You know, the type of news where something bad happens, some kind of crime is committed, either someone murders someone or beats someone up. As soon as the reporters and people reading it find out that the person had played video games, the person who had done this, people instantly tend to blame the video games as being the reason. Of course, oh, he did this, he murdered his brother. Oh, well, he was playing COD. Oh, well, no wonder he murdered his brother, because, he was playing COD. Jesus Christ. Just two quick examples to sort of just highlight what I'm talking about. There was this guy who was dressed as a Dark Souls knight, and he had apparently vandalized a car. Now, if anyone read this, I'm pretty sure that you saw that a lot of fingers were being pointed at Dark Souls as being the culprit here, and a lot of people were just sort of disregarding the fact and the medical reports that clearly stated that he had been under heavy influence of drugs. Now, I'm not sure if it was cocaine or whatever, it doesn't matter. And the second example happened only a couple of days ago, apparently. Well, that's when I heard of it, anyway. There had been two 12-year-old girls that had apparently tried to murder, I don't know if it was a classmate or a friend, and apparently Slender Man had threatened to kill their families if they didn't do so. Now I know Slender was a thing way before games, I know he was a pop culture thing way before gaming, but I think a lot of people associated this with the game just because, gaming and games is the type of platform that kids around that age mostly associate with. So those two were just examples, but I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about by now. And why are video games blamed then? Well, the way I see it is, it's always been normal to try to scapegoat something that people don't quite understand, something that people don't know a lot about, and something that's new. Think about it, when books and movies were new, people used to say the same things. Probably still do to a certain extent. Some people still think that movies are incredibly bad for some people. And gaming is just the newest platform, so yeah, yes, it's becoming a lot more mainstream than it was 10 years ago, but I still think it has a long way to go. And some therapists have even tried to argue that gaming is more interactive than movies, in the sense that if you shoot someone, you don't just watch it, you actually press the button, and that's a valid excuse for saying that gaming causes violence in people. But I still think that's a cheap way of trying to justify it and lay the blame on it, just because fictional interaction on its own cannot really drive someone to commit violent acts. And I just feel that, the gap isn't really big between pressing a button and watching someone shoot someone. In the end, it's the intention that is bad enough on its own if you think about it. And in the end, this is not reality. You are not actually killing a person. And even if these violent acts could be caused by games, there would have to have been something pretty mentally wrong with this person to begin with, honestly, for them to not be able to separate fiction and real life. And let's dig a little bit deeper, shall we? This might sound like a given to a lot of you guys, but one of the first things I learned during my psychology classes was to always evaluate a person's entire life situation before trying to determine a cause to any odd behaviors or, mental disorders or whatever it may be. So we therapists were taught to look at their childhood, their relationships to parents or, family or anything really, friends, their social life, everything and anything, to see if something might have affected the person negatively. And believe it or not, you can usually tell pretty early on when things might have started going south for someone just based off of certain behavioral patterns and, just certain things that happened, certain things that they did. But still, understanding how people function isn't quite that simple either. And it's never just a case of cause and effect. I mean, not being mentally healthy, for instance, that can be genetic. It can be something that you could have grown up perfectly, just living a very happy life, having a very loving family, just a great life, and you could still end up having a lot of problems later on. This proves something else, that no feeling or issue can affect everyone the same way. I mean, just because a certain thing happens to someone doesn't mean that they're going to react this certain way. And, or they could not end up reacting at all. That's just how it is for some people. Some people just have more mental fortitude, others don't. So for gaming to be the catalyst or the trigger for, violent acts in a person, well, it's damn near impossible. And what I'm trying to say here is that while games sometimes may portray violence and, pretty gruesome stuff, for someone to actually not be able to tell the difference between real life and fiction and cross the line, there would have to have been something very, very wrong with the person to begin with. Again, these kinds of things aren't just as simple as one cause has one effect, And what about kids? But Kat, what about the children? Yes, kids are more susceptible and vulnerable to outside influence, and this isn't new. You see a lot of parents going about blaming games and pointing fingers. If they see a misbehaving or a somewhat violent kid, they tend to say, oh, well, they play games, no wonder. But honestly, if you think about it, it may very well be down to bad parenting. And I apologize if I'm about to piss off some parents here, but please try to distance yourself if you feel you're not one of these parents. Parents should monitor what their kids do and what they say online and what they even play, because if there's something that you don't approve of, you need to set down your foot and tell your kid, look, this is not okay. You can't do this. Most people I feel that they just buy something for their kids and they just sort of leave them to it, and they don't really control what the kids do. I sure as hell would like to know what my future kid does online and who they talk to and what they say. And these parents could just not decide to buy these games in the first place. And these parents could even just sit down and discuss these contents of the game with their kids and maybe try to explain a thing or two instead of trying to just censor the kids, because guess what? Eventually reality will catch up anyway. And if these kids can get used to handling the context and, the contents of games maturely at a reasonably young age, my theory is still that they'll have a healthier attitude towards it later on, because later on it just won't be as estranged. So please stop pointing fingers at something that is really not much different from books or movies, because games are great for a lot of things too. They improve hand-eye coordination, they improve social skills, they improve cooperative skills, and cognitive thinking. And it's because of starting gaming when I was 5 that I speak English as well as I do nowadays. I could rant on and on about this subject for hours, honestly, guys, but it has to come to an end. So I'm just gonna try to summarize and say that gaming in itself is pretty harmless. Maybe I'll offend some people by saying this, but it would basically be like putting a knife or a gun in people's hands. If you think about it, the weapon in itself is harmless, unless put into the wrong hands. The weapon itself is useless unless someone uses it. In this case, the weapon would be a rubber knife, because really that's about how harmless games are. And other people, parents, therapists, friends, or family, or all that, maybe need to stop pointing fingers in the wrong directions and maybe take a look at their own actions and their own understanding and try to, widen their horizons and maybe pick up some responsibility. But alright, thank you so much for listening through this. Hopefully, if you did, guys, I hope you did. And let me know what you think about the subjects. Just drop a comment below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm being totally outrageous? Or am I making perfect sense? And also, if you liked the video, please make sure to let me know by liking it and sharing it, commenting, because that really inspires me to keep doing what I do. But alright, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye!